Thank you, everyone. So this panel is focused on the kidnapping and forced conversion of Christian women in Egypt as well as Pakistan. So let me introduce our first panelist, Sonja Dahlmans. And Sonja has 2 master's degrees. The first in Christian theology on abduction and sexual violence committed against Christian women. And the second is on Islamic theology in child forced marriage. She has, in the past decade, written many reports on abduction, forced marriage, and sexual violence against non-Muslim women and girls, as well as child and/or forced marriage, including the report for Coptic Solidarity. Thank you, Sonja. Our next speaker is Christeen, and she is a witness to the persecution herself. Christeen was raped at the age of 14 and pursued by her Muslim rapist until she eventually had to flee Egypt, fearing for her safety. At one point in time, she was presented with an Egyptian new Muslim ID card identifying her new name as Fatma? Fatma. She was forced to relocate several times and change her number, but yet her persecutor always found her and always found a way to let her know that he can reach her anywhere. Eventually, she had to leave Egypt fearing for her safety, and we thank her for her courage and coming here today, sharing her story and inspiring others to break through their silence and share their stories. Our last panelist, oh, thank you. Sorry, Joseph, here we go, 1 second. Our last panelist, Joseph Janssen, a minority rights activist and advocacy officer with Jubilee Campaign Netherlands. Thank you for coming all this way. Focused on addressing systemic injustice against Christians, amplifying the voices of vulnerable communities, and holding state and non-state actors accountable for violations of religious freedom. Thank you to you all. So we'll do this a little differently. We're going to ask some questions to just try and make this a little more interactive, and we will start with Sonja. Sonja, can you tell us more about the breeding ground for abduction, forced marriages, and conversions? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, well,
your button.
Most of the time, hello everyone. Most of the time we concern ourselves with rape, abduction, forced conversions, as with ISIS, for example, when there is armed conflict or war, or a genocide even when we think about the Yazidi community in Syria and Iraq. But these things often start way before that happens. We have seen, for example, when we think about Syria, the situation there with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, in Idlib, when they were in power, that they already had strict dress codes, that they already were preventing women and girls from going to university and school, that women who did not obey the dress codes were punished in public, that women and girls were already trafficked under their control. We've seen the same thing in the region in Syria where the SNA was in power. We see these things also in Egypt, for example, with Coptic women and girls. The report you mentioned, that is not a country at war, but it still happens. And this has to do with a marginalized and discriminated situation Copts find themselves in Egypt, and women and girls are then targeted. We see it in Turkey, we see it in Iraq, in Azerbaijan, Nigeria, Pakistan, Cabo Delgado, Mozambique, everywhere. So the key thing is, when you speak about the breeding ground, to understand that when these things occur first, you have to act immediately, you have to call the perpetrators out way before finally an armed conflict starts, because then things will even escalate. You know, the situation for women and girls will then eventually get even worse than that, and then we see the abductions, as we now see, for example, in the Alawite communities in Syria, or as when we speak about Egypt, the situation when a minority, an ethno-religious minority group has been marginalized, as you very well know, Caroline, for centuries already. then it has become a pattern, and then it will be very hard to act. Because then all the things, the deception has been set, the majority group that is in control, that threatens, intimidates people, which prevents people to speak up. When that has become a pattern from centuries on, it's very hard. We've heard that in our lobby days this week when we visited representatives, senators here in the US, also in European Parliament, then it becomes really difficult to act upon these things. So it's key to call out the breeding ground when it starts, because otherwise it might be too late.
Thank you, Sonja. Thank you, Sonja. Christeen.
Actually, can I just switch?
Oh, she's going to speak in English. She's good. Oh, yeah, thank you. So, Christeen used the translator yesterday, but she feels like she can do it in English today. So we're happy to hear your voice. So yesterday when you spoke, you mentioned that you had relocated multiple times. You went from your home city to Alexandria, to Cairo, back to Alexandria, if I remember, changing your number multiple times. How do you think your abductor was so easily able to locate you each time, find your number, and continue to pursue you? How do you think he was able to do that?
So I would say it is like a very prepared organizations that they are baking on Christian girls, especially if they are coming from a good family, at like a priority, they will do it. And of course, with government help, they will do it. It is very easy to track anybody in Egypt if they want to do it. And especially, I was over YouTube, there is another, people are talking about ex-Muslims. They were talking about how they were tracing and tracking Coptic girls to transform them to Islam, convert them, rape them, and it is like very prepared organizations, that's what I would say.
I know you also had mentioned that your persecutor was able to even access your college school records and would use your grades in the school system and send them to you before you even got your grades from college, demonstrating how far-reaching they were and how far they can get into everything, even your own university, and use that as a tool to scare you and intimidate you.
Yes, well, actually, I would say it is like they are just supported from like the organizations that I was just talking about, and
Closer.
And I think it is just being like having my results even without like me having it. It was just putting more pressure on me that you are under our control. Like that's all the things that I can see clearly today as like I'm here and that I became adult and that same scenarios is happening with the other girls that I would say it is really dangerous. It is really dangerous for any Coptic girl to stay in Egypt for now. My situation was like 20 years ago, but it's still like because we didn't speak at that time, we were afraid, we didn't have support that we needed. So I think right now it is like, they are not stoppable, that's what I can say. Like it's getting worse and worse. And that we didn't speak at that time, as I said, it makes them shameless. And
Yeah.
like, yes.
Emboldened,
Emboldened, thank you.
Thank you, Christeen. Joseph, what patterns do you see across cases of childhood abduction, forced faith conversion, and child marriages in Pakistan?
Well, thank you so much for the question. I would like to play the video, and this will also a little bit explain about the trends.
This was a difficult mission, so I brought to a pope to ask him for prayers. he received me and told him about the slaves in Pakistan, and he almost cried.
Somehow the father of this girl, Sarah, Shifa, received my number. I received a video message from him. My daughter is 14 years old and she has been kidnapped from his home with the help of some gangster who is involved in the prostitution.
So she gave a statement that she did not want to come with her parents. Yes, she said that she had converted to Islam.
Does it matter the fact that she's a minor? This police officer is saying that Sarah, inshallah, meaning by the grace of Allah, will never return to her parents because she is converted to Islam. This poor guy has 4 daughters, beautiful daughters, very shining daughters.
These girls are in great risk in the village. So we should rescue them. Why we keep talking? Let's go.
Of course, we have to have a really good plan, really. These are some of the members of the gangster. Wow. Najma, where is Najma? Wow.
Najma is Bigana.
Mafia num Rosy desvia e o Clam desvia. Yes.
Thank you, Joseph. That was very moving. And the title, Slaves of Islam. Thank you. Would you like to comment on the
Yes,
video?
this was a rescue mission that we conducted last year. So what happened, our minor girls who have been abducted, forcefully converted to Islam, and they have been forcefully married with their abductors. So when we go to we saw in this video, for example, a police officer. So we went to the police station, even with international delegation, calling them, requesting them, see, this was the 14-year-old girl, Shara Shifa. This is her birth certificate. Her parents were crying over there. And police officers respond. So that is the police officer respond that's saying, no, this girl will never return to her parents. Inshallah, meaning by the grace of, if God's will. So this is the response from the police officer. So these are the trends when we talk about forced conversion, child marriage. Our girls have been stolen from their families, and this was the response from the police officer. And the same kind of response when we go to the courts. We are standing in the courts, parents are standing in the courts, and judge will accept the bogus documents, false documents. He will accept the false conversion certificate, marriage certificate, birth certificate, which is written, girl is 9-year-old, physically you see the 9-year minor girl, and they will present false documents saying she's 18-year-old. Judge will not do any kind of examination, investigation, inquiry, and in the court, he will simply ask the girl, is there anybody who has forcefully converted you to Salam, or you have married with your free will? And this 9-year girl will very intimated, very afraidly say yes, and the judge will accept this yes as like stamped on the conversion and hand over this girl to her abductor, to her so-called husband. So these conversions or marriages are why these people get married, for example. They marry only because they have kidnapped these girls, they have raped these girls, they have sexually abused these girls, or they wanted to traffic these girls to domestically or internationally. And they marry only to cover up the heinous crime they have committed. Marriage simply gives them a legal cover, and the judge makes stamp on that by giving them or accepting them without any investigation. So that's what happened in many cases. Unfortunately, parents will go to the police court, their FIRs not have been registered, the complaints are not registered, they come back. And if we don't get involved as international organizations, these girls never return. Some of the parents I see, I received a call from another family, for example. Father, when I spoke to him, he told me, Joseph, I have given up. I thought I had 4 children and my daughter is abducted, and now I have accepted that I have 3 children. So meaning this is this kind of the helpless people are.
So you're saying there's a consistent pattern of government support and participation in completing the conversion and the disappearance of these Christian girls?
Yes, so there's state institutes are involved. State institutes play the role of a facilitator when it comes to child marriage and forced conversion.
Thank you, Joseph, for bringing that to light. That's very important.
Thank you.
Sonja, back to you. Can you tell us more about the connection between child marriages, abduction, and the forced marriage?
Yes, well, when you look at all these countries where this is happening, Egypt as well, the Egyptian government has a goal, so they say, as to in 2030 to completely eliminate child marriage from the country. We also see that there is still child marriages happening. There are loopholes in the legislation, in the law in Egypt, so men can actually marry girls under 18, but they get away with it because of these loopholes. But more than that, there is a pattern that when in a country or a region there is an increase of child marriage, in Nigeria, in Egypt, in Syria, Iraq, all these countries, these are also the countries that, for example, are present in the top 20 of countries with the highest percentages of child marriage. These are very often also the countries that we are speaking about here on this panel. So the countries where there are abductions, forced marriages, and forced conversions to Islam. So there is a very clear connection between that, because these are the countries where Islamist extremists, have their views on marriage. And I think it would be very important for policymakers to keep that in mind. We see that in Afghanistan, for example, ever since the Taliban were in power again, so for the second term, there is an increase of 40% of child marriage. We see it under the Houthis in Yemen. We see that under ISIS, with HTS in Syria, in the region where the SNA previously was in control. Everywhere there is an increase of child marriage. You also see the trafficking, the abduction, forced conversion, and forced marriage of non-Muslim women. And I think that's a very important, that's a key point for policymakers to bear in mind.
So you see the underage marriages or the child marriages as definitely a clear sign that this is a country that has an issue with the forced conversions and the kidnappings. You see a direct line between the two.
Yes, and that is also why I did the 2 masters on specifically these 2 subjects, because they are connected, and also because we also see that in Egypt, as I wrote in the report for Coptic Solidarity, when in a country, for example, rape may be something that is not allowed under law, but marital rape doesn't exist. A Coptic girl, for example, that is forced to marry and is raped, what chances does she have in a legal system when the rapist is now her husband, but on paper is not able to rape her because marital rape is not recognized as such? which is also the case Mr. Janssen is making for the situation in Pakistan, but also in other countries. So yeah, I do believe that there is a very clear connection between these two things, and also with regard to policy. So that is why, this is also the recommendations I make in my master thesis. It's important to recognize that.
Thank you, Sonja. Christeen, back to you. You had mentioned that there was, at one point in time, you were presented an ID, and it looked like you, but it said Muslim and had a different name. How do you think they were able to do that without your permission?
Well, at that time when I saw the ID was having my face in hijab, calling me Fatima and I'm a Muslim, without even like being me going to Azhar or say that I'm a Muslim. It is just that I remembered that when they were telling me to go back to fencing to play, that they were looking for a player that she is tall, and that I was very naive, and I believed that they just looking for a tall person to come back to the game.
Who's them?
They are the other team players, Muslim team players with me. They were the same age, and I wasn't sure, like, I just went back because I want to play. I did like the game. That's why I was playing in the primary school at the beginning. So anyhow, when I went back, they were very happy, and we were just finishing the exercise, and we going back home. It was winter time, so everyone was like covered. They were all Muslim in hijabs. It was only me, Christian, so somebody gave me like a scarf to put it around my neck, as it is cold, as a good friend. So I took it and I thanked her, and I had it over my neck. But at a certain point, she was standing by my right side, and she was like, no, 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 it's really cold, your ears, you need to cover your head. And suddenly, she took it over my head, and there was a phone, like a mobile. It was like somebody was standing over there. I didn't realize they were just taking a picture of me wearing it. Till I saw the picture inside the ID having me.
So these were your teammates on your fencing team?
Yes, and they are all Muslims, as I said. So I was raised, my father, as a good Christian man. He was, and my mother too, they were saying, like, we treat everyone, even they are not Christian, in a good way. We trust people, people are not evil. That is what Jesus told us. So I never thought that was their, like, a strategy, like a strategy behind what was happening. I was just very, like, good, yeah, like a team member, and that's it. Then I saw the ID after being raped. That happened, like, it was like 1, 2, 3, like steps. It wasn't just like a random thing, no. It was just like, that's why when I was talking about it was very organized, it's really organized. It's like, I know you haven't been there, but I was there, and the way it happened, it is like extremely organized. And when I say it is not safe for Coptic girls, I mean it is not safe for any Christian girl, actually, because we had a hidden, like, they just kidnapped the Catholic girl recently. So it doesn't mean like it is just the Copts. It is as being a Christian. That means we are going to attack you. We have the right to do anything to you. Especially the minors, they are going to be like under attack.
Thank you, Christeen. So you're saying it's not just government officials which produce the ID, but it's also they use younger people as part of their plot, like your teammates,
yes.
Telling them, hey, perhaps help us recruit or bring over this Christian to Islam.
I have something to add. It was like, while this was happening, that the other team members that I just mentioned, they were like, the trainer is going to marry Christeen someday, and they gave it like blessing, and I thought it was just a joke. How come? Like, I'm just 14, and he was older than me by 13 years. He's a Muslim, so I thought it was just a silly joke. It is not going, like, what are you talking about? You know, like, it's not real. Yeah, exactly. And that is even like just started to go back to the training. Like it wasn't, I wasn't there for a long time yet when I came back. So right now I'm just saying, well, I know my dad raised me well. I know that he wanted me to trust everybody, and that even being non-Christian, but unfortunately, after my experience, I'm here to say, no, we can't trust them. Yes, there is like even the moderate Muslims, now they are like putting a pressure over them. They are not moderate anymore. There is like, they are just like, even the moderate became, yeah. What? Radically, yeah, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christeen, for sharing that. Joseph, a question for you. What specific steps do you think the U.S. Congress and international communities can take to support the persecuted Christians in Pakistan?
Well,
diplomatically, legislatively, or any other humanitarian aid?
Well, thank you. I think this question is very, very important question for me and for the victims who are facing these atrocities in Pakistan. I think it's very important that the US Congress or congressmen or senators or international community, when these incidents happened, they condemned, they raised voice, these religiously motivated incident, for example, abduction of the girl. You might have heard an incident happened in Sweden. A religious page was burned down by an individual, and that was condemned by the entire Islamic Ummah. When you see that, how big condemnation was that, because of simple page. And on the other side, we see people have been burned alive in Pakistan. They have been lynched, they have been burned alive. 26 churches were burned on different locations. Multiple locations were attacked by Muslims in 2023. And when 23 churches were burned down, there was not that much condemnation from the Congress or international community that 26 churches have been. So I see there is a lack. I see that how Islamic Ummah, how Muslim, when something happened to that side, how they advocate, how they express, how they condemned on social media. And that's where I think it's important that if international community, international organizations, Congress, individual congressmen, senators take action, should have taken action when 26 churches were burned down, should have taken action when Nazir Masih, a Christian, was falsely accused of blasphemy and was lynched outside his factory of shoes. So the mob came, many incidents happened where the Islamic extremist mob come and they attack Christians, they burn their churches, they burned individuals, they take the law into their own hands. In 2024, there has been multiple extrajudicial killing. They take the people from the hands of the police, grabbing them out of the police station and burning them alive front of the authorities, and they do not take that much action. So that's where I think congressmen, senators create a pressure. Now I want to finish with my own experience. My sister, Shagufta Kausar, was sentenced to death on blasphemy charges, and she spent 8 years in Pakistan. I want to tell you, in 2021, European Parliament passed a resolution which got 686 votes from the parliamentarians, and after 2 months my sister and her husband were released. So there is a result. When you talk, when you bring resolution, when you bring advocacy, when you talk about the incidents, at the Congress, in the Senate, European Parliament, United Nations, we have results. We have seen that the special rapporteurs have sent communication for individual cases, and people who have been sentenced to death, they were behind the bar for years, have been released. So there is a result. What you are doing, what international community is doing. So that's we need to continue, and that's where in the end, I will say that the European Union, as the European Union has, agreement with Pakistan with the trade. So there is agreement, free GSP plus, free trade to Europe. So it's a GSP plus scheme in the Europe. So whatever they are bringing trade to Europe, it's a free trade, and in return, Pakistan is obligated to bring good governance, rights of the minorities, and obligated to amplify 27 conventions. And same way, if your organization and congressmen here and women and senators can amplify the same pattern, same things like from European Union, all kinds of aid which is going to Pakistan should be on conditions of human rights, 27 conventions. So I think if we little bit do our advocacy on that sector, that will help us a lot, and that will also bring a lot of pressure on Pakistani government to bring some changes. Thank you if I have taken more time.
Thank you, Joseph, for sharing the recommendations and your personal story about your sister. And thank you for sharing about Pakistan, because I believe this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've had someone from Pakistan talk to us about the persecution of Christians in Pakistan, and that helps certainly raise awareness and helps us also add that to the list of many things that we need to work on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any closing comments? Sonja, we'll start with you.
Yes, thank you. I think listening to what we've been hearing today, unfortunately, the focus is very much about power, empowerment, and shifts of power. But when it comes to the vulnerability of women and girls, we see that vulnerable groups have no power at all, they have no voice. And unfortunately, even though policymakers have these programs that cost a lot of money, girl empowerment projects, I know that in Nigeria, for example, that after the abduction of the 300 schoolgirls in Chibok, that had a program where people were, with money of the US government, by the way, that they had a t-shirt, a red t-shirt, with Bring Back Our Girls, the famous hashtag that you may all well remember, and that was the help. I don't know how that exactly has been helping to free 300 schoolgirls who were taken by Boko Haram and forced to rape, married and forcibly have sex with these men, but there we are. That is one of the things that I think that we need to focus much more, not necessarily on giving one or two women power, but by focusing on and advocating for the vulnerable. And they don't all need to become, the prime minister of whatever country. They just need to have bodily integrity and the right to have their own religion and make their own choice who they want to sleep with and who they want to marry. I think that's one of the key issues. Another one is that there is little in the press, there's underreporting. The famous Armenian scholar, Dr. Elise Semerjan, wrote in her last book, and most of us, I think, are aware of what happened to Armenian women and girls during the SIFO and during the Armenian genocide, but also lately in Artsakh, also called Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan. If we as women get one page in all these documents or official reports, we praise ourselves lucky, and that is the issue. There is very little attention to what happens to women and girls because we keep viewing what is happening as a byproduct of war or armed conflict, rather than as an issue, a form of genocide or a human rights crime or a war crime even in itself. And I think lastly, what is very important, specifically with regard to the situation in Egypt, when I was doing the report, I was shocked to find that actually, and I won't call names, but there are some organizations that do not believe what is happening in Egypt. But they do believe what is happening to Christian girls in other countries. I'll leave it there, but I think that is one of the key issues, that there is equal treatment of girls that are abducted and are forcibly married and converted to Islam. Or, and I quote, Yazidi young girl that when the attack of 7th October in Israel by Hamas happened, Israel organized at the UN a meeting on these rapes of Jewish women, and the Yazidi girl then came to speak and she said, rape is wrong, can we at least agree on that? And I would like to add that to all the policymakers, and bear that in mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonja. Christeen, would you like to share any final thoughts?
Yes, I would say, so I want the community to raise awareness about how Muslim girls that they have been raised. I would say something happened with me situation when I was in the primary school. In the first semester, I was almost 7 years old. There was the first semester, the first week, I had a Muslim girl sitting beside me on the same desk. On the third day, she was just pushing me away, crying, go away, you are Christian, you don't talk to me, you are an infidel, and you are going to hell. I'm not supposed to talk to you. And while she was doing this, as a child, I was like, what's going on? I didn't do anything. I was very good to you. And I was just pointing to the door. I saw her father, that I knew that her father after that. He was just like giving me a bad look. And I was like, I have a question for him. Why you are raising that child to hate another child that she is just a different in religion?
How old were you?
Almost 7 years. I was,
7?
the first year in the primary school. And when I was like going to the high school, there was, so I was in a private school for premium and elementary, primary school, okay. So in the high school, to continue in a private school, I was asked to wear a hijab. Even I'm not a Christian. That happened. Yes, so when I asked them, like, I'm not a Muslim, why should I cover my hair? They told me, just put even a small hijab, you don't have to wear like a full one. I was like, no, I refuse. And I had to go to a different school, and like, for now, I don't appreciate what happened with me, and I think it is getting worse and worse, like I said. And for me, for any recommendation, I'm just saying the community, we need to support each other. Every Christian need, like, even, okay, don't say it's not, never happened to my family. No, it can happen to everyone. So be aware about it, and when it happens, please support each other. We are all Christians, we are all brothers and sisters. So we need to support each other, and we need to support the girls themselves, and when something like that happens, as I said yesterday to the girls, please talk to your family. They are the first line to help you and support you. And for the families, don't be afraid, because they are like, when he was threatening me, like coming under my house, if you didn't calm down, I'm going to talk to your family, I will tell on you. Well, I wish I told him, go ahead. So now I'm asking any girl in my situation, hopefully she is safe, and just talk, because when the community, like, it's coming very strong when we are on the same like the same heart. We are one heart, and we are going to defend and protect our girls. Thank you.
Thank you, Christeen, for sharing your story. Thank you for having the courage to speak out and to hopefully encourage other girls also to find their voice and seek help. Thank you. Joseph, any final comments?
Thank you, sure. Well, there's a list of issues in Pakistan. We have spoken today only forced conversion, child marriage, the blasphemy laws. There's Constitution of Pakistan gave us a freedom of religion or belief. There are different, the province, different laws, domestic laws prevent, rape or abduction of the minor girls or women. But unfortunately, this freedom which Constitution of Pakistan gave us is only on paper. It is not in practice. So we need to hold Pakistan accountable. We need to hold Pakistan accountable on its treaties, on its obligation by signing international treaties, becoming the member of international treaties. So we need to raise and bring this paper to your advocacy, thank you very much, to your advocacy so that Pakistan, these girls get relief. And one of the last thing is also we can urge US government to amplify 7031C. It's a US law which ban those malfeatures who are against human rights, for example. So we can call on US government to banning these individuals, judges, lawyers, or police officer, for example, or parliamentarians who are hindering, who are restricting general laws or amplifying these domestic laws or hindering, for example, international conventions. So if we are able to ban these individuals to coming to US, that will be one step, to show them that international community is taking action. So thank you very much.
Thank you to everyone on our panel for sharing your personal experiences, your expertise, and your recommendations. It was invaluable. Thank you.